And then she just pushed me inside and closed the door, so the whole room was totally without window, just dark. And I didn't know when I can get out from that door. I was crying inside like hell, and then the door just kept closed. I couldn't know when I can get out. After, at some point, she opened the door. So I learned a lesson that was the punishment if I don't exactly follow the rule.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Current Art Podcast. I'm Yaching. Today, I'm at an artist studio in Berlin Hirschgarten with Xiaoer. Xiaoer, could
Hello.
you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Xiaoer. I'm a freelance and artist, currently live in Berlin for 7 years already. So this is my studio where I create my art.
I'm so happy to talk with you about a very exciting topic, which is about mistake. And it's so relatable, but it's very, very harsh in some culture than others. So stay tuned.
I didn't understand what is art when I was small, but I understood at that time what was being creative.
Yeah.
So the first thing in my memory that I remember something to do with creativity, it was when I was watching the TV when I was around 2-3 years old. I look at the model on the TV catwalk, and I was copy their actions and doing that performance in the living room. And my grandmother was doing that. So that was the first memory.
That's the first performance art that you did.
Yes, to copy the models.
In the living room. Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about you didn't understand what is art, but you understand what is creativity.
Yes.
It is very later on I understand what is creativity. I think I still don't understand it very well. I'm still trying to find what is the value of creativity. So I think this is very profound that you find it so early on. Like, what does it feel like being creative?
It feels like empowerment.
Empowerment.
Yeah, I think it was very free because you just spontaneously doing something without a plan, and you are free to act so, or you are free to do so. That was creativity for me. It was not necessarily something to do with aesthetic, but it was something to do with being free to speak what your body wants to speak.
So it's actually related to how you're supposed to behave in certain way, how you're supposed to act as a kid. And then if you do something that is completely out of their mind, then that is something being creative.
Yeah, because at that time, honestly speaking, I had a very strict family background. Both of my parents are teachers.
Oh,
so
interesting.
They were very strict to me, and there was a lot of rules. I had I was living with my grandparents when I was very, very small, and then after 4 or 5 years old, I was more taken care of by my parents, but before that with my grandparents. So my grandparents were also very strict as well. So it was basically the whole childhood under 8 years old. It was, of course, also include after 8 years old, but it was when I was a kid, I couldn't make mistake. So that was a basic surrounding. But the thing is that I found the particular thing, which was I was copying the actions of the model on the catwalk. It was something that was not fit to the expectation of the adults, but they did not hate me for doing that. Because there was other things, for example, playing around with my cousin, doing some damage. They hate me for that. They blame me for doing something crazy, like to play like how the kid should be played, because I couldn't do that because it's too crazy for them.
Yeah,
I should be the nice girl, not the crazy girl. It was all the time like that.
Yeah, that's so interesting because also like catwalk is supposed to be very, very elegant. So it's supposed to like visually enjoyable to watch like a catwalk at home. It's very funny and it's very charming. So that is acceptable. But destroy anything.
It's not.
Yeah.
So that's what I find interesting because like the distractions, it can be seen also like action of creativity as a child. To do catwalk can be also seen as creativity as a child, if this child just feels like to do so. So both are creativity, but why some are acceptable and some are not? That was the reflection about the childhood.
That's interesting. I was also living in a very strict childhood.
How about yours?
Yeah, mine is also involved with a lot of rules. I think we are growing up in a very similar environment. I was also growing up with my grandparents. I think it's also because of the era that we are like growing up, you know, that our parents both have their careers and they would tell me like very strict rule because, for example, you're supposed to close the door without any sound, or you have to knock on the door 3 times before you enter anywhere, but then it cannot be too loud, it cannot be too quiet. It's right amount of volume that everybody can hear you.
It's so precise to require the kid to do that.
Yeah, and also just like little rules that I didn't spend so much time in kindergarten, so I was not socialized when I was a kid. And after I've been to primary school, it's a very difficult period of time for me to adapt to the social life. And there were lots of abuses in the school. I was being physically abused by my classmates also until the middle school. And it's interesting, you know, in the middle school, we are doing this gymnastic exercises always during the class break, right?
Yeah.
Maybe around...
We had it too.
Yeah, around 11 o'clock, right? Or in the morning somehow. And you're supposed to copy the movement,
the actions
of this leader, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's supposed to do the same movement at the same tempo, follow the same music and same every single day. Is it a trauma?
Yeah, when you don't speak about that, this part of the trauma was already forgotten by my head because I want to protect myself for traumatized experience. And right now you mentioned it out, it's like, wow, yes.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, at the back of my mind, maybe creativity is to not do the things they're asking for. So I think the cool act is always like dance a little bit sloppy, you know, a little bit casual, like not follow exact the movement, not follow exact the music. So I was being like really a trouble kid by doing so. And once my teacher saw that, she asked me to go to the front in front of, I don't know, maybe hundreds of people. And then to just stand in the front and then do the dance. In front of everybody. Yeah, so I understand what you're talking about. Like, you cannot make a mistake because you will be punished.
There was a lot of discrimination and punishment. For example, something similar with what you mentioned. For example, I had a situation that was like 5 minutes late for the class.
Yeah.
Because like 8 o'clock is the first class.
Yeah.
But everybody was supposed to come at 7:30 for the preparation class. But you shouldn't come at 7:30 at the point because it's always should be supposed to come like 20 minutes earlier. So I was sometimes I was like exactly at the rim or like a bit late even. And then I was punished to have to stand at the end of the classroom for the whole morning. It's like for the payment for some minutes, but you have to pay 4 hours of standing for that.
Yeah, it's very weird. If you think about it, like why do they have to punish a teenager like that or a kid like that?
Yeah, even a kid.
Like what is on their mind? I still trying to find an answer. right? Why they have to do such a cruel act to such a small little mistake? What is the lesson?
I think when I was trying to analyzing that, because from my point of view is they don't really understand the core about education.
Yeah.
So they are teachers, they are educators, but they couldn't know like how to educate in a human way.
Yeah.
Because of course, if you make a mistake and you get punished, you will always remember that pain that you suffer from that punishment. And they want to use it as a kind of strategy to make the child traumatized from their mistake. So like when you are traumatized, you are just scared, basically. And then you carry a lot of fear of doing that again because you know that you will suffer again from that punishment. So they think and they believe that this is a way to make you avoid mistake again.
So pain causes change.
Yes, I think this is like their strategy to
create a lot of pain,
yes.
So you would change to the behavior that they desire. But this is not a self-development because they don't want you to change the way that you want it, but they want to change the way
they want.
Yeah, they want.
It's about authority and obey. So I think it was a lot about that. It was.
I think when a teacher get into that mode and then trying to punish somebody over and over, year and year, month and month, I think they are kind of a machine. They don't going through to think about what this can cause to a kid. Or it's like a program. They believe, okay, if I cause this kid pain, they will learn this is good.
Yeah, they will learn this is good and they will change because they are scared to suffer from that punishment again. Yeah. But each time, like when we talk about it, you just speak a bit and I can understand the next scenes because we was in a very similar situation when we was a kid.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when I'm here in Europe, when I start to talk to the friends from other countries, it seems like it's so difficult to understand.
What do you think is the barrier? What do you think? Which part they don't understand it?
They didn't understand the punishment, I think. Because when I start to speak about the punishment system in our school, usually they are just very shocked. Like, oh, this is the crime. This is illegal, for example. I find it's very pity that something that we suffer, but when we speak it out, another part of the world couldn't understand. And when we speak this trauma out in our system, which if I was able to speak to my teacher when I was in China, when I was a teenager, I think it will happen like I will get the second time hurt.
Yeah.
It's like you make a small mistake, you already get punishment. And then if you tries to stand on your position and ask for your rights that you will not deserve that punishment, you will definitely get the second time punishment for your attitude, for your rights, for that equality or things like that.
Yeah, it seems there's like an invisible Bible like that you have to obey.
Yeah.
There's invisible rules. And then sometimes, like especially the teachers in the school, they have been put on such a pedestal. And then you often have to guess what is on their mind. And that, I think, is also a very scary part. Because I think that creates such an unhealthy relationship when we go into the society.
Yeah.
We became that person who have to always guess what the other person is thinking about and try to fit into that picture.
I totally get you. In a lot of situations.
Yeah, and it's become very unconscious. And I think when people don't understand it, it could be when you say, oh, those are criminal, those are inhuman, those are not right. But then you also just to put it in a definition, so this is not right. But then you lost the chance to really analyze it like psychologically. Like, so if it's not right, what does this person went through actually throughout the year? And this is not, we're not talking about one bad experience. We're actually talking about, I don't know.
The system experience.
The system
The
experience.
whole thing. Yeah.
The whole life.
Yeah.
20 years.
Because I imagine that why the teachers was like that. For example, make such a big trauma punishment to such a small kid for this little mistake. And why these teachers like that from north of China to south of China, all the same.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that the teachers, they may also suffer from their boss in the situation. For example, if the teacher themselves make a small mistake, they may get punishment from the leader of that school. And then they put this anger to the smaller kid because they are powerless. It makes me think about the power structure. And in that situation, the teachers were also supposed to obey their boss in that situation. So they may also feel similar, like they are students, that they are powerless, that they couldn't make mistake because otherwise they will get punished. They will get, for example, their salary can get reduced because of they make a mistake. They may scared of that, and they have to obey from the leaders, although they are adults, of course.
That is very interesting. When I was young, when I was at school, I often think about one question. What is the price? Like, what is the price of all that? I was having this impulsive thought about doing something completely like destructive, like ruin the whole situation. And I'm thinking about what will be my price, like what can it cost me? And I was thinking probably being expelled by the school. Then I go to another school.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about, okay, if the teacher is making any mistake, okay, they lose their job, but they maybe find a better paying job somewhere else in the society. And what kept them there? Like, so something have kept them there, told them this is the best thing that you can get. Being a teacher is the best thing you can get, like ruling those kids and then tell them what to do is the best thing that you can do in your life. There's no other options. Or suffer as a student, not telling other people what is really going on is the bad thing you can do. So I think there's that kind of logic behind, like you're being convinced this is the best.
I think they are just brainwashed. For example, my parents are teachers.
Yeah.
So if I try to analyze what kept them for doing teacher job for such a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of different factors.
Yeah.
But I think there's one very, very important reason. It's because their parents support them to be the teacher. It's like, if you want to change something in the conservative society, you have to be very, very brave to make any different decisions. It's comfortable and in the comfort zone when everybody else surround you, like your family, parents, are also say that, oh, you are doing good, and then you are in the comfort zone. I think my parents' situation, they become the teacher, was also apparently because of that. So they don't meet so much confrontation if they stay in the teacher position. And also I think there's one part which is I'm not sure to use brainwashed again because it sounds totally bad. But I think they are kind of have some belief system that their job is going to help people. I think this why I use brainwash at the beginning, because to be teacher, it doesn't mean you are good teacher. You can be the bad teacher and traumatized teacher as well. But for the teachers who are particularly believe that they are doing things all right and never doubt themselves, make any mistake or traumatizing student, they kind of believe that they are doing things to help the student, and they are doing things that is helpful for the society, and they are think that they are the leader or model of the society. They believe, they have a really strong believing system that teachers are good. So this kind of very strong belief system, like propaganda, that hold them in this position for such a long period of time. And then if in between some students come to office to question them, or maybe you should apologizing for something, for example, and they would barely would able to face into their mistake because they are so ego based, to be honest, with teachers.
That's very interesting because you're talking about one thing is in the system that people are afraid of making mistake. The other thing is if they did make a mistake, they are very afraid of admitting that mistake.
Yeah, because this is the difficulty with teachers, I found, because with them, in their believing system and in their right or wrong system, and they believe that they should be the model. They are trying their best to be the model, and they they should be the model of the other people, include their students. So they couldn't be able to accept that they are just a normal human being that can make mistakes. So they could never accept that they can also do something wrong. And that's why it gets so triggering when the student come to say, hey, you did punished me for the wrong reasons, for example. And they can get so triggered and punish a second time because in their believing system, they're always right. It's like teachers are always right. Parents are always right. Your boss is always right. It's always like your father is always right. These all believing systems are making a lot of troubles for people accepting themselves.
It's very dangerous to think yourself is always right and positive, actually. Especially for a teacher, because then you're very responsible for teaching everything right, like educational level.
Yes.
And then, but there's a huge level, is moral level.
Yeah. They have, usually, I found the teachers have a very huge moral responsibilities. Because I think especially in the more conservative the society is, the more bigger responsible of the moral thing the teacher can carry. For example, in our surrounding in the past, in China, and I found it was often that my teachers, when I was a kid, there was usually making some examples to inspire the student by the moral level instead of educational level. Of course, educational level, they do that in a 40 minutes class. They just do their job. But I think the whole experience from the school, it was much more than learning knowledge, because there was a lot of collected experience from what happens in the middle of the break, and what happens in the middle of the each class break, what happens after you finish your school, and what happens you go to single talk with the teacher. It was, I think I more remember this part instead of the class itself. Yeah.
It's a very rigid structure, right? If you think about it. And there's really strong power dynamic. If you were ever being asked to go to the office.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible. And I think what has been set in stone, what they have taught us is like how you should communicate with people, how you're supposed to communicate with people in very strict certain ways, that something you can say and something you cannot.
Yeah. So what was your experience when it come to go to the office of the teacher? Do you still remember some examples that happened to you?
I think the first most scary thing is always the silence.
Yeah.
Because at first they would not say anything. They are waiting for you to confess your mistake. So the little game they did is
the mind game.
Yeah, the mind game is to silently stare at you.
Yes.
And then their hand would be like crossing in front of their chest.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, front and all like shut down face. And then they were just looking at you and wait for you to tell me what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in your little mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's terrifying experience. I couldn't even remember what did I say, but I probably just very panicked. I think you lost the game at the first 5 seconds. Very fast.
I also can relate it to what you said.
Yeah.
Because I each time felt a lot of guilt. The guilt and the shame when I was in the office. It was also very scary experiences for me. And it was also I tried to figure it out what was the reason and did I really do something wrong that they really asked me to go to office and deserve to get some more punishment. So my answer, it was not always me. Sometimes I did bad mistake in my homework, so they could of course correct me with that mistake. But I think it was also a lot of times it was because of some other misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And then you go to the office and actually you could explain what happened to make them understand the situation. But as you said, that they are playing this mind game at the first 5 seconds. So as a student, you was already panic at the first.
Yeah.
So when we was in the shocking mindset, we was not even able to speak just normal speak.
And I was wondering, are they actually expecting anything? Like, are they actually expecting you to explain what's going on? Or they're expecting this guilt and shame, what you're talking about?
This is a very good question and a very important question. I think from my experience, I often had the situation that when I was talking like a normal human being and just explain what happened, usually the reaction was very bad because when I was explaining what happened in a normal, in a normal position, just to say what happened, and to hope then you can please understand that's the situation.
Yeah.
They would often get very, very angry by I said the truth, because in the teacher's mind or let's say in the authority's mind, they are not looking for that. They are looking for something. Like they take the explanation as the excuse. You are making excuse again. You deserve the second time punishment right now.
They want to see vulnerability.
Yes.
They want to see you totally
fragile.
Surrendered to them. Yeah, totally fragile.
Yeah.
Can you make an example? Like, what was the time that you felt like I've totally been misunderstood, that this thing should not happen?
I think I had one very traumatizing experience when I was in my kindergarten.
Yeah.
So it was around like 3 or 4 years old, so small, and for every kid there is a lunch break.
Yeah. And
everybody was supposed to eat and go to sleep for at least around half an hour, because we had the room at that time, like the construction of that room, which looked like a hostel. So upstairs and downstairs.
Bunkers.
And, right? Yeah. And I was a kid that I was supposed to sleep upstairs. And so the rule of that kindergarten, it was everybody go to sleep. And then after like 10 minutes, and then the teacher come to check if everybody closed his eyes or not.
Yeah.
And I was a kid that I was always hyperactive. So sleeping, it was always a problem for me because I couldn't fall asleep. I just want to do things. And then I was forced to have to sleep like the other kid, but I couldn't fall asleep. So it was the problem to follow that sleeping rule. I could stay on the bed. I think I did already compromise. I don't want to stay on the bed because I was hyperactive. I compromised because I know at that time, 3-year-old kid already know that you are going to be punished if you don't follow it. So I follow the rule, go to the bed, but I couldn't close my eyes. I think I was lying on the bed like the other kid, but I couldn't fall asleep, so my eyes was open and look at the ceiling. Although I didn't speak and I didn't make any noise, just because my eyes was opened and look at the ceiling instead of closed. The teacher saw that and she thought, "You come with me." And then she put me in the dark room and closed the door. That I was inside the closed door with unknown, because I didn't know what is inside that dark room. It was a little house that I didn't know what is inside. It looked like some storage or something, but I couldn't know what was inside. And then she just pushed me inside and closed the door, so the whole room was totally without window, just dark. And I didn't know when I can get out from that door. I was crying inside like hell, and then the door just kept closed. I couldn't know when I can get out. After, at some point, she opened the door. So I learned a lesson that was the punishment if I don't exactly follow the rule.
That is very cruel. I think for a 3-year-old, that is extremely cruel. Because any numbers of things could happen.
Yeah.
You could accidentally poke your eyes with anything. Or even just like psychological level.
Yeah.
You could get really, really traumatized. And I think traumatized, this word doesn't exist in that society.
Yes. Because they would always normalize the traumatic experience. Says it's good. I'm doing that because it's good for you, for example.
I think they normalize also the cruelty. Like being cruel is somehow acceptable. Because that's extremely cruel. Because that's how people treat people in the prison. There's no way you would rebel against it because there's very indifferent power dynamic. But have you ever tried to tell parents what's going on?
I think what hurts the most, it was the reaction of parents, because normally speaking, parents are the provider and protector of the kid. When the kids are not able to protect themselves by themselves, the parents are there to mentally, physically support the kids to protect them. But this is idealistically speaking.
Yeah.
But in our society, I think I'm also not alone in this case, because I got a lot of experience that I was telling my parents what happens in the school. For example, I was getting bullied in the kindergarten. Not that case by the teacher, but I was bullied by the other kids, but the bigger kids. They forced me to swallow the chewing gum, and I was coming back. Their reaction, it was, as I remembered, I think my father said something like, "Of course, if they don't bully you, they bully who? Of course."
Oh, that is a very typical parents' reaction, because parents' instinct is if you got stronger, then they will not be able to bully you.
Yes.
So they want you to be stronger to not be bullied.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think this concept, many our listeners would never understand it. Why parents are acting like that.
But when I talk to this with my Chinese friends, they had often the similar experience. So I had a friend who got a bullied experience earliest at the kindergarten by the bigger kids, like a same situation, but for different stories. And then he told the parents, and the parents was also not able to protect but blame. So he gets second time hurt by telling this thing to the parents. I mean, like this, I felt the similar thing, because a lot of situations I felt maybe I was able to probably cope it alone, but telling this to parents, it gave me the second time trauma, because somebody that I trust the most as a naive kid, but didn't give me the support as it's supposed to be. So you just felt very hopeless, because you just know that nobody can help you and you always alone and you have to trust only yourself. That was what left over.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sometimes I'm really thinking about why my mom has so many rules for me. Like my mom hope I'm perfect.
It's so harsh. It's just harsh.
Yeah. But she hope I'm perfect in a way, like physically.
In her imagination.
Yeah, in her imagination, like I better be thin, slim, but beautiful, but also I better read a lot, better have a very high education, better speak multiple languages, better find a really good job, earn $1 billion, and then better be successful and then famous. That's my mom's ideal me.
But if you really became the ideal vision of her expectation, would she be scared that it will be difficult to find a man?
Yeah, it's interesting because every time I have a boyfriend, or I was in a bad relationship, or in any relationship, she would always ask me, why am I wasting my time in the relationship? So I think the idea is I should not have emotions, because emotion is a waste and my life is very precious. So I should supposed to, work on myself all the time. I became the best version of myself, which, they are having good intention, right? They want you to be really, really good. They want you to have a good life. They want you to be loved, to be secure. And they think if you are good enough, and then you could be secure and loved, and then comfortable, Thank you so much, Xiaoer. Thank you so much
for Yaching.
Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Sunday. I'm available on YouTube Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Pocket Podcasts. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.